Hello detectives, and welcome to my March video. If you've been watching these over the last few months, you'll know that what I've been doing is having one video that talks about what I'm doing and the books that I've been reading. But this month I've got so much going on that I thought I'd split them up. So this video is just about the things that I've been working on and the things I'm really looking forward to. The first thing to tell you is that I have a brand new website. It is on robinstevens.co.uk, just the same as always, but it looks different, it's a lot cleaner, it's a lot brighter and more beautiful, and I hope you'll really like it. I think it's wonderful. The next thing to tell you is that my book, The Guggenheim Mystery, which is the sequel to Siobhan Dowd's The London Eye Mystery, finally has a cover. I love this cover, which is by David Dean. I think it's iconic and completely stunning, and it still stands out on the tables 10 years after it was first published. So the fact that David has made me a cover just as gorgeous as this for the Guggenheim Mystery is incredibly amazing and exciting to see. You can have a look at it on my website now, or it's on my Instagram now. Obviously, the main thing that I'm excited about, and that you are probably excited about too, is that this is the month that my book, Cream, Buns and Crime, is finally published. Here it is. I got the finished copies in a few weeks ago, and I absolutely love it. It's even brighter and more beautiful than I was expecting, so you will not be able to miss this in stores. It is now going to be published on the 23rd of March. I am so proud of Cream, Buns and Crime. It is a beautiful book to look at, but it was also an incredibly fun book to write. It isn't a full mystery. What it is a compilation of short stories, some old, some that you've already been able to buy online, but some new as well, so you have some new content even if you've already read those Kindle short stories. It is also full of detective tips. It's got explanations of where I get my ideas for my books from, what books I was thinking of when I wrote them. It's got information on famous spies from history, it's got code breaking, and it's got recipes. This is, in a way, my very first cookbook. It's full of some of the recipes, some of the foods that make my books hopefully so delicious to read, and I hope you'll have a really good time baking them. And as I say, I finally have my hands on it, and I think it's absolutely gorgeous. And because I have it with me finally at last, I thought what I'd do is read to you a little bit from it. Because as I said, there are a couple of totally new short stories, and one of them is the story of what happened to Kitty and Beanie, my Detective Society members, while Daisy and Hazel were having such a good time in Mistletoe and Murder. Because, of course, during that Christmas holidays, something happened to Kitty and Beanie as well. Some of my fans have written to me asking what that could be, and I've finally written it up for you in this book. This story is not narrated by Hazel, it's not narrated by Daisy, it is narrated by one of your favourite characters, Beanie. The Freebody's house, Kitty's family, they live in London, and Beanie comes to stay with them for the Christmas holidays. But when she gets there, she realises that something a little bit creepy, a little bit maybe worrying is happening, and she has to be a detective to work out what it is. So, there was a story on the wireless about a convict who escaped from Holloway prison. Beanie said, "Ooh," and I must have squeaked because Kitty rolled her eyes and told me that Holloway is far away in the northeast of London. "The east is where all the criminals live," said Beanie, her voice gaspy. "Louise, the maid, was telling me. It's lawless and awful, and did you know there was a little boy who—" "Roberta," said Mr. Freebody, which is Beanie's real name. "Enough! Darling, could you please speak to Louise about her colourful imagination? I don't like her putting ideas like this into the girls' heads. They've only been back from school a few hours." "I doubt it was Louise who began the conversation," said Mrs. Freebody, rolling her eyes the way Kitty does. "Beanie, sit down and stop stabbing your carrots like that. Look at how Kitty's eating hers." "Look at Kitty," muttered Beanie into her plate. "Perfect Kitty." Kitty pinched Beanie under the table like a crab. Beanie howled and was sent up to her room by Mr. Freebody. Kitty told me the story was nonsense, but somehow it was still frightening me when we went up to our room after dinner. I stood and stared out of the front window while Kitty was brushing her hair. The snow looked like a photograph with the lamps lighting it. And there, on the pavement, was a set of black footsteps. They went from the right to the left and stopped at the door of our house. I thought about what Hazel would say if she was here. Everyone had been in the house for hours. Who else could it be? Was it one of the naughty boys about to play a trick? Or someone worse? "Kitty!" I cried. "Kitty!" I pointed out of the window. "Oh, Beans, don't listen to Beanie," said Kitty. "She talks stupid nonsense. That's the postman. Didn't you hear the letterbox rattle 5 minutes ago?" I shook my head and felt stupid and very little. "It's for me," screamed Binny, who'd got out of her room and was now downstairs. "A parcel with my name on it." I heard Louise and Mrs. Freebody trying to shush her, Mrs. Freebody not very seriously, and what sounded like Binny climbing onto a table. Something shattered. "Come here, Beans, and let me plait your hair," said Kitty sharply. She plaited it, and it pulled. I tried not to let my eyes water, but something was worrying me. It was not until just now that I realized what it was. There were no footsteps leading away again. So that is the beginning of the mysterious thing that happens to Binny and Beanie and Kitty in this short story. It's one of my favorite ones I've ever written, and I really hope you like it. There's also a short story about George and Alexander, which I'm also very proud of. So I really hope you'll love Cream Buns and Crime. I hope you'll enjoy it when it's out, which is going to be the 23rd of March, not long now to wait. And finally, of course, while all this excitement's been going on, while we've all been waiting for Cream Buns and Crime to be coming out, I've been working on Hazel and Daisy's 6th murder mystery, which, as you probably have already heard, will be taking place in Hong Kong. It's all about Hazel's family. Now, I am the kind of writer who writes really fast first drafts, and I think it always astonishes people. It astonishes my fans, it astonishes other authors. Everyone gets quite nervous about it. So I just wanted to say something about how I do that and why I have that process, because it is something that not all authors do. In fact, most authors don't do. I'm an author who really hates first drafts. That is partly because I'm a perfectionist. I like things to look really good. I like my writing to be really good. And that really messy, difficult first draft where nothing is quite in the right order kind of offends me, it upsets me. And if I'd give myself time to, I would worry over it for ages and ages. I would keep going back and picking at scenes and messing around with them a little bit to make the writing seem better. But what I've realized is the more I mess around with a story in the first draft, nothing actually happens to it. It doesn't really change how good that story is, because first drafts for me are when I'm working out who my characters are, how my story should go. And when I come back to it and do a second draft with my editor's help, I change huge chunks of the story. I add in different scenes. I make the characters go and do different things. I have Hazel and Daisy going on different mini adventures within the main murder plot. And so I've realized that there's absolutely no point me taking 6 months to write a draft, because it's going to be just about as good as if I took a month on it, and my editor is still going to have big suggestions of things to change. So what I'm doing now is writing a massively quick first draft, just sketching it out, all the scenes that I'm imagining in my head, because I am imagining them very, very vividly. I can see what Hazel's doing, I can see what she's thinking, I can feel her emotions, and I want to put that all down on paper. I've got a really clear idea this time around about what happened with this murder and who did it. And it's a story that I've been waiting to tell for a long time, and one I'm super, super excited about. So that's what I'm doing this month. Nothing in my first draft really is going to stay. Nothing is really as the book that you will read. So don't despair if you're someone who doesn't write fast, because I am extremely weird. It's just one technique that works for me, and I know that a lot of other authors don't do that. I'm going to be writing book 6 until the middle of April, at which point I'm going to be taking my Easter holidays. If you are in England and you are looking for events around Cream Buns and Crime, don't worry, I'm thinking about those. I'm hoping to have some public signings later in the year. I'll also be going to the Oxford Literary Festival, the Chipping Norton Festival, and several others. So just have a look at the calendar on my brand new website, and you can see where I'm going to be over the next few months. You can come and meet me and get your book signed. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you're really excited about Cream Buns and Crime, and I will see you in April.